Welcome to the Duquesne University Coaches Show, presented by UPMC, the official healthcare provider of the Duquesne Dukes, and Mike's Beer Bar. Meet me at Mike's. It's time for the Sherwin-Williams Painting the Picture of Victory segment. Sherwin-Williams, the official paint provider of Duquesne Athletics. Duquesne enters the 2025 season with momentum and national attention as back-to-back NEC regular season champions. The Dukes were the only NEC team to receive votes in the Stats Perform FCS Top 25 preseason poll, marking the second year they've earned national recognition. Defensively, all eyes are on Jack Dunkley, a junior defensive lineman named to the Buck Buchanan Award watch list, honoring the top defensive player in the FCS. Dunkley is the only NEC player on the list and is coming off a season where he led the league in tackles for loss and sacks while forcing an NEC best 3 fumbles. This season kicks off with a historic matchup against an FBS opponent in Pitt, the first meeting between the schools since 1939. Offensively, Duquesne returned 6 starters, including 4 All-NEC selections. Joey Isabella highlights the returning group of players entering 2025 with an 8-game touchdown streak. On defense, Duquesne allowed just 18.3 points per game in NEC play, led the league in scoring defense, and held 3 opponents to single digits. Duquesne is coming off back-to-back NEC championships, a feat accomplished only once before in the past 17 years. Now, in 2025, the Dukes are chasing history. Duquesne will look to capture its first ever NEC three-peat. That was the Sherwin-Williams Painting the Picture of Victory segment. Sherwin-Williams, the official paint provider of Duquesne Athletics.
I was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer and told you should seek end-of-life care. I went to UPMC, and so the very first time, I didn't get that blank stare. He said, "This is what we do, saving lives like mine."
And welcome back to the Duquesne University Coaches Show. Tim Benz and Jerry Schmitt, head coach of the Duquesne Dukes football program. We're brought to you by Mike's Beer Bar and UPMC. Coach Schmitt is brought to us by Cordia, creating energy solutions. Jerry, for as long as I've been around your program, I can't think of a single game that has gotten as much attention, as much focus from the fan base during an off season. We're talking about you guys playing against teams like Boston College and West Virginia and Florida State. There's been a ton of enthusiasm from fans going into those games early in seasons, but this Pitt game at Acrisure Stadium is something different. It's like something I've never seen from the fan base, the alumni, and the Duquesne community. You must be very excited.
We are really excited. As I always say, it's a great opportunity for our young men, and I'm glad to hear that from you because, we are sheltered in camp and preparing for our football season and our first game. And so all the outside excitement is great to hear, and I assumed it and figured it would be that way. But for our young men and our team, we're really dialed in and focused on our first football game. The fact that it's here locally and it's against the University of Pittsburgh is just extra icing on the cake for us.
For you, having coached this program for over 2 decades now, what's it going to be like to see those Duquesne helmets, Duquesne uniforms on the field at Acrisure Stadium?
Being a hometown guy here, born and raised in Pittsburgh, that's really exciting because I've, watched the Steelers and the Pitt Panthers play games there for years and years on television and myself personally. I think it's outstanding to see Duquesne University, and I know all the history from, years ago. The teams that played in the Orange Bowl and played Pitt, 70, 80 years ago. You hear all that, but now we're in modern era football, and we're here today, and we're going to have an opportunity to go play the Pitt Panthers.
How did this game in particular come to pass in getting Pitt on the schedule, Pitt getting you on the schedule? Was it any different than the machinations that you usually go through in getting scheduled by a West Virginia, Boston College, or a Florida State, TCU, some of the other teams who've been like this in years past?
I'm not always a part of all of those negotiations and how that goes. I'm on the back end. Hey, this is what we're looking at. These are our opportunities as we move forward throughout the years, and they're done years ahead of time. So I don't know exactly what the details were. I do know we've played a number of ACC teams, and then that was probably coming up. And everybody asks me when we play in Pitt, and I don't know exactly when we can get that done. Schedules have to align. So we're just happy that it has.
How are you feeling about this year's team coming off of a really good conference season last year for you guys? Do you feel like this club can either match or exceed what you guys did a season ago?
Really excited about this group. We've got a lot of guys back from not only last year, but the past 2 years. It's been 2 great years to win the title and share the title. And we've a lot of those guys back, and they're hungry to compete for this one here. And we have brought in some guys, some younger guys, some freshmen that are very talented, and some transfer portal guys that are excited to be part of a championship program. So that desire is still there to play our best football to give us a chance at the end of the season.
When we've spoken after losses, the week after losses, you talked about the importance of moving on. That was last week. Now we're preparing for this week. How long did it take you and the rest of the staff and some of the returning players to get over Central Connecticut State, the game at the end of last year, and flush that and move on to 2025?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It was a tough game. Probably took a little bit longer for some guys, but we focused right away on, look, we got to move on and use always what happened to learn and get better. And we talk about our failures, helps us to learn and be better. It was a tough one for our players. We worked really hard on getting started and getting prepared for this season because there's nothing you can do at that point. So we celebrated with them the good things that happened through that season. It was an incredible football season. The things that they did throughout the season, winning 8 games in a row, upsetting the top 25 team, being ranked in the top 25, and then sharing the conference title at the end, just not getting the opportunity to go to the playoffs. So it was a successful season, but obviously everybody wanted more.
I know for you, I've seen you as some of your alumni before. The coaching might stop when they graduate or move on, but being their coach never stops. How has that been for you and Darius in the time since that game happened?
Well, he and I have a great relationship. He stuck around in the spring and was finishing up a class and was helping out with the team. He's a football player. He loves the game. He's trying to get opportunities now to continue to play. But we keep in touch here, and as to where he's at, what he's doing in his future. I hope he gets an opportunity. Extremely talented young man, but it's going to be tough to go out there after these last couple of years and not see him out there on the field.
So how do you replace Darius Prince as a quarterback?
Well, we brought in a transfer at the mid-year, Tyler Rydell, experienced guy, played a lot of snaps in FCS football, very experienced, and we think we have 3 or 4 young guys that are talented, but they just need those college snaps and the experience to be able to do it on Saturdays.
And Logan Kushner and Xavier Rice, the next 2 guys in the depth chart, what can you tell me about them?
Those are young, talented guys that just need the snaps, the experience to go out and be able to do it on a Saturday. But they're showing great signs here in practice.
Jamario Clements off to Wake Forest. So you've got now at running back Taj Butts and Sean Solomon, 2 familiar names. How have they developed in the offseason?
Very fortunate to have those guys. We had 3 quality running backs, talented running backs last year. Wish Jamario all the best, but those 2 guys can carry the load. They're having a great camp. Looking forward to a great season with those guys.
5 very familiar returning offensive linemen that you have in front of the running backs and quarterbacks. That's got to give you some comfort.
There's no doubt there's experience there. They're coached by a great coach, Coach Silnoff. They've been with him. And we feel that we have 6 or 7 guys that can be starters, guys that have played at a high level and can step in at any time. So we feel very good about our offensive line.
You lost Noah Canty early last year in one of these games against FBS competition. So with that being said, he's back. Is he going to be able to participate fully, and what can you maybe get out of him this year?
He's in that process of recovering from an ACL. He's been working all spring and been practicing in camp here, so we're hoping to get him back soon. But Danny Tarabrella has stepped up, and we moved him from linebacker last year, and he's doing a great job. And so we think we'll be solid there at the tight end position.
Pass catching wise, Joey Isabella returns. He was such a big play threat for you last year. Jermaine Johnson had some injuries during the course of the season that he battled through. How can whoever the quarterback is in any given game count on those guys as being consistent on the other end of the ball?
There's a couple guys who've been with the program for a while, so they understand the entire offense, and we can do a lot of things with them. And, just a comfort level having those guys back, not only their talent, but their experience, and they're leading that room. We've got some young, talented guys, same thing as we talked about at quarterback. Just need some snaps and some reps, but I think some people will be impressed with some of the young talent that we have at receiver.
Do you feel like on the other side of the ball you could really lean into your defensive line with Jack Dunkley and A.J. Ackerman and Kevin Kersinger?
One of the strongest groups, not only ability-wise, but depth-wise, and we recruited a couple transfer portal guys to fill in because we know at some point here, A.J. and Kers, those guys are going to graduate. They've been with us a long time, and we've been fortunate, but they are going to be a deep, talented group. And Dunkley, had a great season. We're looking forward to this year.
At linebacker, be it because of graduation, transfer, injury, that's kind of a new position. That's an evolving position, isn't it?
Yeah, we lost a couple guys in the transfer portal, 2 really talented all-conference guys. The staff did a good job. Mickey Jacobs, our linebacker coach and D coordinator, did a good job. Found some linebackers in the transfer portal who not only are really talented players, they're a great addition to our football team. Tyson and Jabari are great young men, fit right in with the team, and they're leading that defense over there.
In the secondary, Antonio Epps is going to join us momentarily, returning team captain, returning all-conference player. Is he the hub of communication in that secondary?
You never know it because he's really a humble, quiet young man. Doesn't say a lot of words, but he lets us play do the talking. But he is the leader in that group. We have a lot of fifth-year guys back there, to combine with him, and we think that's a really talented group also. Lastly,
what about Pitt? What do you think about them as an opponent for their first game? What have you learned about them?
Really impressed with them. They had a rough end of the year last year. I don't think it should have ended that way. They had some bad breaks. But I know they have a lot of guys back, and they're talented, and they replenished with some transfer portal guys that are very talented. I expect this to be one of their better teams here in the last few years. That's the way it's looking. It's going to be a challenge for us. They do a great job, Coach Narduzzi and his staff. So I think they're going to be a really good football team throughout this football season.
How well do you know Pat Narduzzi?
We know each other really well. We go over to the prospect camps, and we've been over to spring ball. They're very gracious, let us come over there. We talked football for years, obviously not this year. As we play this game, it was kind of ironic. We all laughed about it. It's been a great relationship. I always tell the story when Pat got hired. It was like a Monday morning, 7 in the morning. My phone rings and I pick it up, and it says, "Coach, this is Pat Narduzzi. Just want to introduce myself and say, hey, anything you need, I'll be here for you." And I thought that was awesome. He didn't have to do that. From that point on, we've had a great relationship.
Are you personally going to take a minute during pregame warm-ups and maybe just kind of soak it all in just for yourself, like you said, being a guy who's watched Pitt and watched the Steelers growing up?
Yes. My teams, when I played in the Whitfield, never made it down to Three River Stadium at the time, and that was the goal to play there. And so it'll be basically my first time. My son has a championship there from Central Catholic. So, yeah, I'll walk out, look around, smile, and then get focused on the game.
Well, Jerry, thanks a lot. Appreciate the time. Can't wait for this. Like I said, I know the student body, the alumni, all the fans very excited about it. It's going to be a real fun day at Acrisure Stadium.
Awesome.
Up next, as mentioned, Antonio Epps from the Duquesne Dukes. Secondary, he's on the way. Coming up here on the Duquesne University Football Coaches Show, again brought to us by Cordia, creating energy solutions.
At Cordia, we approach energy from a different point of view, asking what's next instead of what now, perfecting solutions long before they are needed. Our team pushes boundaries, asks tough questions, and explores every possibility. We drive innovation so the energy you rely on today paves the way to a more sustainable tomorrow. Cordia, creating energy solutions.
The reason we do this is to change the lives of patients for the better. Pancreatic cancer has a reputation for being a tough cancer to deal with. If you can add mileage to someone's life, the ability for patients to live longer, enjoy time with their family, witness a wedding of a daughter or a son, that's really what we're aiming for.
At Duquesne, It's our joy to help you discover what you're good at and why that's good for the world. We want you to become a problem solver who thinks bigger, who is driven by compassion and empathy. Together, we will work towards achieving your goals and a greater sense of purpose. We're ready with an education that's everything you need and more than you imagined. It's time for bigger goals. Duquesne University.
And welcome back to Duquesne University Coaches Show. Tim Benz along with you and with Antonio Epps from the secondary, the Duquesne University football team, getting set for Pitt to open the 2025 season. We're brought to you by UPMC and Mike's Beer Bar. Our student-athlete interview segment is brought to you by Summit Academy and the Academy Schools, inspiring hope through education and treatment. Antonio, how exciting is this for you? You're a local guy from South Allegheny. I was talking with Coach Schmitt before you came in about the excitement level that's palpable throughout the fan base. I imagine it is for the players, especially guys like yourself who played in the Whitfield.
For sure, yeah. A lot of guys on this team, like local, myself included. So we couldn't be more happy to play this game. When we finally got word that we were playing it, I found out back in April. I remember I was told about it. I was, ecstatic about it. A lot of friends and family, are local to me. They really can't come to too many games. We travel a decent bit. But being able to play a bigger team, at their stadium, my family and friends, they're looking forward to it. They're excited for me. My mom told me she's bringing 40 different family members and everything, my dad as well. So, being able to play on that field in front of my friends and family on a field I've never played before, be able to finally be on that field to play on it is like a dream come true.
I was gonna ask Pat Narduzzi about this and maybe some of the Pitt coaches, players too, but I imagine for them this is gonna be fun too, because if they're gonna schedule an FCS team, this team is gonna bring fans. This team is going to bring a portion of the fan base that's gonna be there in the stadium, and I think that's gonna ramp up the excitement level on both sides.
Being the FCS team in Pittsburgh, to play against them, it's going to bring, a bunch of people, to fill that stadium and, be able to play in front of, fans, from all over around from both teams, is going to be, real exciting. Thousands of screaming fans, on that field, getting to play football, is going to be something we're all looking forward to.
What did you try to work on the most for your game coming back from the 2024 season?
For me, I think it's, being able to make more splash plays, I think, the last 2 years, I've been playing, I think I've been able to consistent on the defense, but I want to be able to make that game-changing play, a forced fumble, interception, tackle for loss, things that change the game in a way. So that's, what I'm looking to change and look forward to this season.
I know the cliche is that coverage and pass rush go together. Your defensive line looks like it could do big things this year. How much are you aided by the pass rush that those guys generate?
Oh, a lot. They help us a lot. A game I go back to a lot with that is the RMU game. We played them, the secondary wise, a lot of times before the receivers got even out of their breaks, the D-line was tackling them in the backfield or it was a sack, and that's all credit to, AJ Ackerman, Kevin Kurzinger, Jack Dunkley. Them up front, that's going to be the staple of, how well we'll be able to do things in the back end. Because, when they hold it down in the front, it makes it easier to cover in the secondary.
I know nobody wants to see their season come to an end, and you usually have to sit on a loss. Most teams do on the way out going into an off season. How hard was that for this group coming off that Central Connecticut State game after what had been such a good conference season?
That was probably the hardest loss, I've had, in my college career up to this point. Everything, looked like it was trending well for us, up to that point. It was 8-game win streak, team was meshing real well, offense was playing great, defense was doing their part. For me personally, the realization after that game was kind of just wow, it just ended just like that, it ended on the road up in Connecticut. That bus ride was real quiet, and it was an 8-hour drive. You could hear a pin drop. How quiet it was. It hit everyone really hard. But I think a lot of us, we talked about it from that point on to this, this season. We know what happened, and we're determined to not let that happen again. And to, fuel us into this season, about what this team could really do.
So that was the thing. Stay away from that bus ride. Is that the message in the off season? Don't have that bus ride again.
Yeah, because we've had, my time here, we've had, a lot of bus rides that have been long, and being on the bus, with everyone, just feeling that loss, was something we don't want to feel again. That feeling, it just never will go away. It sticks with me to this day, and we're all determined and, prepared to not let that happen again this year.
Well, one good thing about that is you don't have to do too many long bus rides this year. Acrisure Stadium might be one of your your farthest road trips.
Yeah, I think I was looking at the schedule. I think, like, obviously Pitt's not a home game, but it's
Right.
close enough. I think the first 5 out of 6 are, home games, like, in Pittsburgh. So, that's, definitely a big change since I've been here. So, I'm excited for that for sure.
Yeah, and all in all, do you feel like this team has the capability to be what last year's was, if not better, and maybe make that one last step and win the championship outright?
Absolutely. We had, like I said, we had a lot of transfers come in, which could be hard for, a lot of teams, but we've been able to mesh real well through spring ball, summer workouts, and now fall camp, so I feel like we're really veteran-led and experienced, like, on the defense and even on offense. So we're able to finally put it together on the field, I think we can really, win this conference like we should.
Antonio, thanks a lot for the time. Best of luck against Pitt. Best of luck this season. This will be a lot of fun for Duquesne fans out there at Acrisure Stadium coming up on Saturday.
Sir, thank you for having me.
All right, Antonio Epps has been our guest here on the Duquesne University Football Coaches Show, again brought to us by Summit Academy and the Academy Schools.
Want a great entertaining area for family and friends but short on space? Now there's no reason that you can't be the party house with Leon's Billiards and More convenient space savers. Our versatile dining top pool tables and buffet top shuffleboards allow you to dine first and play after. We can fill all your entertainment needs with game tables, bars, furniture, and more. Professional installation and financing options available. Leon's Billiards and More, bringing family and friends together for over 30 years.
For all your sports watching needs and great food, meet me at Mike's. Mike's Beer Bar was voted best sports bar in Pittsburgh. 300 local beers, 80 local taps, over 500 beers, and steak on a stone. Mike's Beer Bar, next to PNC Park, Federal Street, North Shore.
Science doesn't happen in a silo. More and more, we need to have expertise from lots of different fields. And so that's one of the amazing things here at Hillman. Everyone here is committed to doing research that is going to ultimately help patients' lives. So bringing together lots of different smart minds that have a common mission is really the way that we're going to move forward.
It's time to look behind the numbers, courtesy of the accounting and consulting firm Schneider Downs. Find out how big thinking with a personal focus can help your organization. Head coach Jerry Schmitt is entering his 21st season leading the Dukes and his 26th overall as a head coach. Over the years, he's built one of the most consistent programs in FCS football. Under his leadership, Duquesne has won 10 conference championships, 3 in the MAC and 7 in the NEC, and made 3 FCS playoff appearances. Schmidt's impact goes beyond titles. He has recorded 128 wins at the FCS level, ranking 3rd among active coaches, and his 156 career victories place him 5th overall. Last season, he became the longest tenured head coach in Duquesne football, passing Dan McCann. As a program, Duquesne has been a model of consistency. Since 1995, the Dukes have won 18 conference championships, posted a 500 or better record in 29 of 32 seasons at the FCS level. And since joining the NEC in 2011, Duquesne leads the league with 95 overall wins and 62 conference victories, at least 28 more overall wins and 17 more conference victories than any other team. In the 2025 NEC preseason coaches poll, Duquesne was picked to finish 2nd, earning 2 first-place votes. The Dukes have now been picked in the top 3 for 15 straight seasons and have received at least 1 first-place vote in 14 of the last 15 years. 7 Dukes earned pre-All-NEC honors, including running back Taj Butts, receiver Joey Isabella, offensive lineman Michael Falla, defensive linemen A.J. Ackerman and Jack Dunkley, and defensive backs DJ Cerisier and Antonio Epps. That was a look behind the numbers, courtesy of the accounting and consulting firm Schneider Downs. Find out how big thinking with a personal focus can help your organization. On Saturday, August 30th, the Duquesne Dukes kick off their season opener against Pitt at noon at Acrisure Stadium. It's the first meeting between the programs since 1939. The Dukes open their home season September 6th against Lincoln University, the first of 6 home games at Rooney Field this season, the most in 7 years. This Road Ahead segment is brought to you by Dean Honda. Dean Honda, visit them on Route 51 in Pleasant Hills or at deanhonda.com.